different than the hymn. Measure 39, just parts. 39. Remember when you go to 56, the next line it goes down. Yeah. It doesn't say crescendo, but I think as continue, we can make sure that we grow with it and make sure there's a nice full sound there.
Before we begin, Pam has a brief announcement.
Hi, everyone. If you're here for Neighboring Faiths, they're meeting downstairs in the youth cave in the Red Balloon. So anybody in 6th grade or helping with Neighboring Faiths can go down there with Judy Bowes. Thank you, Judy.
So wonderful to have our middle schoolers visiting other faith meetings, other houses of worship, so they can learn about Unitarian Universalism in the world. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air with the windows open, our hearts. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing with your mask on hymn number 37, God Who Fills the Universe.
Family, and please remain standing and join us in lighting the chalice and reciting our covenant. May the light of this flame illuminate lives and strivings of the Spirit. May it heal misunderstandings and strengthen love. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in friendship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
What beautiful flowers we have this morning. It's just so nice to notice. Would the children please come forward?
So, like many stories that we tell, this story begins with once upon a time. Have any of you ever heard the story of Jack and the Beanstalk? Yeah? Well, once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack who lived on a beautiful farm with his mother. They had lots of land and lots of animals, and there was plenty of food for both of them. Until one year, all that food started running out. So slowly they sold off their animals to different people in the town nearby until there was just one cow left. And this cow was Jack's favorite cow. He and the cow loved each other very, very much. And so when Jack's mother asked Jack to go to town and sell his very favorite cow, Jack was extremely upset and just cried and cried and cried. And he knew that no matter how much money a merchant would offer him, he could not let go of his cow. So he walked into town, through the forest nearby their house, and all of these merchants came up to him saying, "Oh, what a wonderful cow, what a wonderful cow. Take all my money for it." And Jack just went, "No, I'm sorry, I cannot sell you my cow." So Jack turned around, walked back through the forest home. But while he was walking through the forest, he ran into an old man wearing a mysterious hooded cape. And the man said, "Oh, what a lovely cow." Jack said, "Thank you. She's very dear to me." And the man asked, "Is she for sale?" Jack said, "No, I'm terribly sorry, but she's not for sale." And the man said, "What if I offer you some magic beans?" Do you want to? Careful, they're magic. And so Jack said, "What do the beans do?" And the man said, "Well, you'll just have to see for yourself, won't you?" And Jack sat and he thought about it. He thought, why, this is the offer for this cow that I've been waiting for. Something just as special as she is. And so Jack gave the man the cow and took the pouch of beans. And he went home. And when he told his mother, she was extremely upset. She said, "Jack, how could you do this? We have no food to eat." So with frustration, she threw the beans out of the window and sent Jack to bed without any supper. But Jack still had hope when he went to bed. He still believed what the man had said was true. And so that very night, as Jack fell asleep, full of hope, outside his window, the little beans started sprouting, and a magical beanstalk grew and grew and grew until it reached the sky. And Jack woke the next morning, and he knew that his faith in that thing had been real. Now, when we have faith in something, doesn't always come true. But it's so much better to believe in the magic of something than not believe in anything at all. And so, Jack teaches us a very important lesson. That having the courage to have faith is one of the most beautiful things that we can do, even if it doesn't turn out the way we might want it. But sometimes you get a magical beanstalk outside of your window.
Will the DRE please come forward so that we can bless your sabbatical?
I'm like thinking, why isn't she opening the eyes?
She doesn't know this is happening.
Oh, gee whiz.
Pam,
Yeah.
after so many years of teaching all of our children, you will have the gift of the next 3 months to rest and renew your spirit. And before you depart on this journey, we wanted to give you your very own magic beans. They are for you to plant and grow and reap. But first, we have to bless them, and we have to bless your sabbatical. So children, I'm going to give these to Robin. Could the children rest your hands on the beans so that we can bless them? So in my hand, I have 3 beans representing the 3 months that Pam will be on her sabbatical. And I would like everyone else to repeat after me when I raise my hands. I'll make it very simple. We bless the first month of your sabbatical when your spiritual intentions will be planted. May you sow these seeds in ready soil. May you sow these seeds in ready soil. We bless the second month of your sabbatical when there will be miraculous growth while you rest. May these seeds grow into something magical. May these seeds grow into something magical. And we bless the third month of your sabbatical when you will discover spiritual treasures that were ready and waiting for you to find them. May you find abundance at the end of your journey. May you find abundance at the end of your journey.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Now for my really long speech. Any 6th through 8th graders can go to neighboring faiths through the back down into the youth cave, and everyone else come on the stage. I hope there's a rabbit downstairs.
If you've been carrying a prayer on your heart, and this morning you'd like to share, you're invited to join me here at the chalice to light a candle. Please begin with your name. Good morning.
I have 2 candles today. I'm Muggsy Rocco. I'm Muggsy Rocco. And the first candle is for my daughter Melanie. She graduated, anyway, she's been living at home and looking for a job, and she has a job, which is very exciting. It's working with a professor that she she worked with during her grad school, and they really don't want to lose her, and she loves the professor, she's a great mentor, she likes the work, it's perfect. So that's her job for now, so that's great. And the second candle is for my son, Gabe, who, as many of you know, has had many struggles. And he is doing very well. And he recently, he's in school, he's doing well in school, and he interned at this place called Hope for Recovery. And then they hired him as a recovery coach. So he's now working as well and is sober, and we're very proud of how he's doing. So I got to hold on to the moment where both my kids are doing great. So anyway.
I'm Emmy. I'm a senior, so and I just figured out where I'm going to college, and I feel weird because I feel like a whole part of my life is coming to an end, which is fine. But like my life as I knew it as a kid in Carlisle with my family and my home and all my friends, and like that is just hard for me because I really like my life a lot, but I'm really excited to go on to college, but it's really far away, which I'm really excited about. Or, not that I'm excited to leave, but I just have mixed feelings about being so happy. I've had such a wonderful childhood and place to grow up, and it's very, very hard to close the book of my childhood and then open the book of my adulthood. And I've just been carrying this and haven't talked about it because it'd make my parents sad, and I also can't really talk without crying, which is hard. But so I'm gonna light one candle for the wonderful childhood I've had and all the love and friendship that's been in it, and then another for my new adult life in a new place that I hope will be as full as much love and friendship that was in my childhood. So yeah, thanks.
I'm Eric Darling. This is just a candle for my one of my elder sisters. She's turning 75 this week and continues in good health and everything. So very happy for her. And let me assure you that today you're going to college, and you're going to get turned around and blink a couple of times. That'll be your 75th birthday.
And we light this candle for the joys and concerns in the world that remain unspoken but keenly felt. And this candle for the pain and suffering in the world, waiting to be noticed and waiting for a response. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. And after each line, I invite you to join in the refrain, "We are connected," either in aloud or in your heart. Despite distance and fear, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Across different experiences and lives, we are connected. Even in the face of inevitable losses of life, we are connected. When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected. In the heat of the sun, we are connected. In the glow of the stars, we are connected. Across the limits of our imagination, we are connected. Even when nature trembles, we are connected. May it be so.
Our offering this morning will be shared with the International Rescue Committee, which helps people affected by humanitarian crises, including the climate crisis, to survive, recover, and rebuild their lives. Please consider generosity a spiritual practice and give with a full heart.
I'm sad to report that our other flutist, Terry Jericho, is under the weather and cannot join us this morning. It's not COVID, she's fine, she'll be fine. But we're grateful that Susan Jackson has filled in for her on this anthem. And thank you, Susan.
Our reading this morning is from Howard Thurman. It was the year of Halley's Comet. One night, I was awakened by my mother, who asked if I would like to see the comet. I got up, dressed quickly, and went out with her into the backyard. There I saw in the heavens the awesome tail of the comet and stood transfixed. With deep anxiety, without taking my eyes off of it, I asked, "What will happen to us when that thing falls out of the sky?" There was a long silence, during which I felt the gentle pressure of her fingers on my shoulders. Then I looked into her face and saw what I had seen on another occasion when, without knocking, I had rushed into her room and found her in prayer. At last she said, "Nothing will happen to us, Howard. God will take care of us." In that moment, something was touched and kindled within me. A quiet reassurance that has never quite left me. As I look back on it, what I sensed then was the fact that what stirred in me was one with what created and controlled the comet. It was this inarticulate awareness that silenced my fear and stilled my panic. Please rise in body or in spirit for hymn number 28, "View the Starry Realm." In some languages, the word for sky and the word for heaven or heavens are the same word. Cielo in Spanish, Shemaim in Hebrew, Galong Hyage in Mohawk. In many traditions, including Christianity, The sky is the dwelling place of divine beings. We have always looked up and marveled. For most of human history, the sky has been beyond reach and beyond control. Yet each day the sun appears, and each night the stars. On a moonlit night, we know that people around the world can look up and see that same moon. Space feels constant, reliable. As scientists have peered with ever-increasing precision, we've even become more intimate with it. We know when it started to exist, 15 billion years or so ago. We know how big it is, more stars than the number of grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches. Who isn't moved by these incredibly beautiful photographs of swirling nebulas? Space arrayed in the night sky above us reminds us that life is larger than us as individuals, as a nation, as a species, even as a planet. It's always there, dependable, in a way that nothing else really quite seems to be. So what if the sky is not as it should be? One day there's a glowing new celestial body, clearly in motion, getting brighter every day. A crisis, a betrayal even, because what we depended on now seems to be out to get us. By the 1600s, European astronomers understood the pattern of Halley's Comet. It started to fit into an orderly understanding of the world. Nonetheless, in 1910, a young boy in a Florida sawmill town stood transfixed, his understanding of the world deeply, radically shaken. But he was lucky. He had someone deeply attuned there with him. What he heard in facing that crisis was a loving silence. What he felt was a gentle touch. What he saw was a look that took in the entirety of the situation and was still in utter peace. The words that Thurman's mother chose to express her sense of attunement to all that is were, "Nothing will happen to us, Howard. God will take care of us." Maybe she knew what astronomers said, maybe not, but whether the comet is a perceived threat or an actual threat is not the point of the story. The point is that what happens to us is not the most important thing. We all have expectations, notions of how things work that let us get along in relative equilibrium with the rest of existence, right? But when those notions are upset, is it possible to stay attuned? I believe it is. That is how we keep going. When we feel okay, it's how we feel okay enough to persevere, even when things are really not okay. It's what Thurman's mother was getting at when she said, "God will take care of us." That attunement is what Howard Thurman describes as something touched and kindled inside himself that was one with what created and controlled the comet. We are fortunate to have some among us who exemplify that kind of attunement to all that is, the marvelous and the awful. We need them, especially when the world is violent. Howard Thurman grew up to be a person who was consistently tuned in. His faith led him to visit Gandhi in the 1930s, and then come back and develop American thought around nonviolent civil disobedience and direct action. It's said that Martin Luther King Jr. carried one of Thurman's books around with him everywhere he went. The way Thurman describes it, nonviolence is a wholehearted orientation of the self, which invites an aggressor to act from their deepest, best self as well. It's a way of being, especially in moments of facing the hardest, most violent aspects of reality. A way that rests in complete dedication to the flourishing of life, capital L, not the life of any one individual. The aggressor might take it or violently leave it, but the offer is there. Last week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked the leaders of the United States to understand that, quote, Russia has turned the Ukrainian sky into a source of death. A source of death. He meant to invoke memories of Pearl Harbor and 9/11 to convince the US government to engage militarily. But there's another layer to that metaphor. As young Howard Thurman discovered, it's deeply disturbing to perceive the sky as a threat. It upends our whole sense of the way the world should be. But Zelensky does not appear overwhelmed. He appears assured. So much so that he appears before world leaders dressed in a t-shirt. And when he finishes speaking, he gets up and leaves, presumably to go back to defending not only a people, but principles of self-determination and democracy that he chose to prioritize when he chose not to leave Kyiv. I wonder if it even felt like a choice to him. And here's another thing I notice about his speeches. While he's clear where the threat comes from, he doesn't use a single adjective to describe Russia or Putin in that whole address to Congress. Not one. No name calling. He only states what it has done and what its actions mean for his people and for the principles he believes they share with other Western powers. Obviously, the Ukrainian resistance is not nonviolent. It is also taking lives. But there's an offer in Zelensky's manner of speaking, a composure and a respect that makes his promises to treat captured Russian soldiers as people, decently, as he puts it, makes those promises sound genuine. And we've seen at least some of those he leads behave accordingly. And we've seen many in Russia respond very bravely in their protest. Zelensky's faith in self-determination and democracy and the right to live in peace is absolutely clear through everything he says and does. He uses the t-shirt to symbolize simplicity, intimacy, and trust. It's a symbol that shows Ukrainians, foreign powers, and even Russian soldiers that he is attuned to something more important than what happens to himself. And in this attunement, he is offering a connection to other humans. Can you feel that connection? Does it make room for something to stir in you? As astronomers learn more about the sky, what they learn isn't actually all that assuring. Space itself is curved. What does that even mean? And it's expanding so fast that most of its galaxies are moving away from us, so fast that their light will never reach us. That's why the night sky is dark. The more we learn, the more the mysterious, the inscrutable remains a part of what we find and what we have to accept. When we look up, the heavens remind us we can be assured, but not just of constancy, also of change, of the presence of comets and dictators. And when we look to one side or another, if we're lucky, we see our fellow human beings resting in the caring arms of reality, moving with conviction toward the flourishing of life. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky.
Thank you.
feel the suffering of millions. And yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think it will all come right. And that this cruelty, too, will end. And that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out. Go in peace, go in love, go to serve.
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.